everybody, welcome to another episode of Naijatoamerica. On today's episode, we have a lovely guest with us. Her name is Grace, and she is an immigration lawyer. And today we're going to be talking to her about ways that international students, both prospective and current international students, how we can legally maintain status in the United States, and how, stay legal and not kind of go off of the path that they send us back to our countries. So yeah, we're gonna delve into this. We just recorded a live session, so we're gonna be answering some of those questions in this video as well. But stay tuned, keep watching, and hopefully you enjoy this video.
Yeah. All right. So first question, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your background. How did you get into this field?
Okay, so as she said, my name is Grace Okori Eric. I'm an immigration attorney, and I've been practicing for almost 10 years now. Background, I'm an immigrant also, originally from Nigeria. Speak two Nigerian languages. A lot of people don't know that. But two Nigerian languages.
Which one?
People in Yoruba.
You said
I speak fluently, actually. A lot of people don't know that.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
Okay.
So let me see. How did I become a lawyer? Or how did I get into this practice?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's kind of cliche, but I've always wanted to become a lawyer. Graduated, I was, working in a different life, kind of, different field. And it just felt like, something I just always wanted to do. So I went back to law school, and I didn't go back as an F1 student. I came in here with a permanent resident card. So my track is a little different from, people that we're talking to today. But went to law school, graduated, and have been practicing, like I said, for almost 10 years now. And immigration was just always a passion of mine because it's a way to help my people educate and, assist in ways that I can. And I think it also makes a difference especially when we're filing petitions and people kind of filing on their behalf that understand their backgrounds, because the cultural differences makes a difference. Certain times I've been in the interview with clients where I know culture, like in Nigeria, would say things a certain way, like, oh, that's my brother, that's my sister, but they're not real brothers and sisters. Right. So clarifying those things and understanding those differences make a difference. So I feel like, that was why I chose this area, and that's why I'm still doing it.
Cool. All right. So next question. So we know that immigration laws are changing. You mentioned that during the live video as well. So are you aware of any new laws? What are the things that we should just have on our radar as international students, prospective international students, in regards to specifically people that are here and studying right now?
Okay. Unfortunately, we are in an anti-immigration climate right now. It's 2019, and it's a little different from what we were used to in the past. So that being said, I think that has kind of spearheaded most of the changes we've seen in immigration laws in the United States. And most of these changes, unfortunately, seem like changes that are making it more difficult for people to get status, remain in status, and kind of get away with things, through mistakes or whatever that they've been able to do in the past. So that being said, my advice to students would be just to make sure that you do everything in your power to stay in status. And there are a lot of misconceptions that students have, like, oh, when I'm here, I can work, or once I get a social security number for any reason, anyhow, it means I can work, or I have an ITIN number, I can work. Like, working while you're in school without the authorization of your DSO, without the authorization of your school, is a big deal right now, and it's a reason why a lot of students are going out of status. And once you're out of status, back in the days, there was some grace period, but now it's almost like a sledgehammer coming down and you send out. I mean, we even had a situation where there was a student that was here and she was working while she was in school without the school authorization. He traveled back home to see her family on the way back. When he came on the way back, he was pretty much intercepted by the border by USAID saying, hey, we know. Yes, we know you have violated your status and you were working while you were in school. Did you get? And that was how the person was not able to return. So for students in the United States, my biggest advice would be just make sure you stay in status. Make sure you abide by your working requirements. And even if your school allows you to work while you're in school, there's always that 20 hours cap on how many hours you can work. And of course, you can work more during vacations and all of that. So make sure you conform with that, and you should be fine.
So was that a recent change, or is there just more scrutiny to the existing law?
More scrutiny to the existing law, I would say, because a lot of these things have always been on the books, but and now they just have more teeth to them, or more of the enforcement there. So it's a heightened scrutiny, definitely, because we're just trying to keep this immigrants away or whatever. Fortunately.
Do you foresee any changes sometime in the
More
future?
changes.
I mean,
You never know.
what kind of, like, good changes or bad changes?
Any kind of changes.
I mean, it is what it is. It happens, we deal with it, and we roll with it. But in this administration, definitely, they're trying to do a lot of things to make the process harder, to make it more difficult, even, on every level. They're putting in place. So if the administration persists, yes, I mean, they're not going to stop, because that seems to be the main agenda, to frustrate the immigration process. So until then, after then, hopefully, something better.
On that note, though, what do you think are some, in your experience with working with international students, what are some mistakes that you see that we tend to make in terms of, like, taking our status for granted, or just, you talked about an example earlier, but what are some mistakes you tend to see international students making?
I think the biggest one, like I mentioned, was the work thing. A lot of international students, they're like, oh yeah, I'm coming to work. But then you also have to understand that you're being granted the international students on the basis, international student status, F1 status, on the basis that you have someone, you have the money to provide for your education, your tuition, your welfare while you're here. So working is something that was not factored into your in your F1 status. However, there are ways for students to work while you are, in your F1 status. But the biggest mistake is students just saying, trying to work outside of school, or saying, hey, I got a social security number, I have an ITIN number, so now I can work. That does not give you authorization to work. So even though you have an ITIN number from IRS, and an ITIN number from IRS, and you can file your taxes with that, but that is not authorization to work. And you also have to understand, some IRS is different from immigration. So some people, I hear people who are like, oh, well, I have a friend that did it. Well, the way it works is somebody might have gotten away with something, does not necessarily mean that you won't, and does not necessarily mean that they won't get caught at a certain time. And another thing I think students mistake, I would say, is more timeline, abiding by timeline. Like, for example, when you're applying for your OPT, there are deadlines, there are dates, and those things are fixed. And like, if you were a day late in filing for your employment authorization for your OPT, that's an automatic denial. That you'll get sent back home. So make sure you stay on top of your timelines. Make sure you're not working, out of status. Make sure you stay with your course load. So your course load is a certain thing. And even if you feel like, something happened, I can't take all this, take this much course load, I need to adjust it, it can be done. But make sure you talk to your DSO. And also in situations where some economic hardships happen to your family or something, you can talk to your DSO and try to get some allowance to allow you to work, essentially. But always make sure you go through your DSO to communicate that, and then if you need a lawyer, usually they'll let you know that. But usually stay in contact with your DSO, don't work, timeline, and you should be fine.
And actually, I think you raised up a good point about the economic hardship. So I've heard that that's a difficult one to actually prove.
Yes.
So what are the requirements for being granted ability to work under that status?
So the economic hardships, that's essentially saying, hey, I came here, I already had my my finances planned out for my school, but something happened. And there's really not one definition from that. It's just like a combination of everything. You have to prove that you're, it's not. So one of the I think examples there is one like, okay, you came here and a war broke out in your country, so it's like, oh, they blew up everything. Now everybody is like, okay, I can't. And then, even in situations where, okay, maybe you came and your sponsor died or something and the money. So but even that, you have to show that this was this and this, and there's nobody else. You have to prove the economic hardship to make it rise to the level where they have to, they allow this extreme case, because otherwise, if you think about it, if it was that easy, man, everybody has to get economic hardship.
Yeah.
So, everybody will come in and claim that. So it's a high threshold, and you have to prove that.
Okay. All right, and then so you already answered this question on the live, but just for people that were not on the live and will see this video, what are some things that people can do in addition to maintaining their status in order to prepare for filing for H-1B, OPT, and also their permanent residence as international students?
Okay. So, we talked about the F1. So the F1 status is essentially the next step after your F1 status is you get an OPT, which is optical practical training, which is a 12-month, and you get the 12 months, so long as you haven't used some of it while you were in school. But you get the 12 months, you work for an employer, and hopefully beyond that point, the employer will now, is willing to sponsor you or file for you, and this takes you to H-1B level. And what we talked about in preparing for it is just kind of a reminder that, as an international student, you need to be mindful of the fact that when you are looking for employment, you are not only competing with people who are, in your field, you're also competing with people who already have their working papers. So the employers don't really have to worry about all the hurdles to get them to work for them, So you want to do things to set yourself apart. And we talked about building your resume, like doing, work. So getting work in your field with your DSO's permission, to just make sure you build your resume. You build your resume so that when the employers are looking for you, you stand out. And then also, the good thing is, we also talked about applying early. So you start your employment application. If you're graduating next year, start throwing out the applications now, because you're going to get a lot of no's. So just keep flying those things out. Yes, and, it'll definitely increase your chances. And, the good thing is, and I tell, I had a friend who mentioned this, and I think it's true. If you go to employment interview and they say, hey, do you need sponsorship? Because a lot of employers are like, oh, I don't want to deal with that or whatever. You're like, technically you don't, because you have your OPT.
Right.
So you don't need sponsorship, you have the 12 month now. That's your chance to go in there and prove yourself. And they'd be like, wow, this person is, we have Joe Schmo is here doing this, and this person is here doing all this. We want you. And that's when they're able to go that extra mile and take the extra step to file for you. So that's also another good way to prepare yourself. Yeah.
I've heard of people that said no to that question, and then 12 months later, when they actually need to file for the H-1B, the employer is like, but we asked you,
no.
You said no, you're lying, you're fired.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's kind of tricky. It's like, if you say no, it's not, oh, no, never. It's, just
at
no.
At
this time, At this time, no. I'm able to validly work for any employer in the U.S. for, the next, for the next year. So, and then, some there and there, try to be buddy-buddy with your employer. Like, hey, so I'm going to need some filing.
I think it depends. A lot of the larger organizations, they're stricter now in terms of asking. So if you say you don't need work authorization right now, you don't need sponsorship right now. So what do you have?
You
have an OPT?
Yeah.
What kind of
No,
OPT
I mean,
are
you want to make sure whatever you say, you're not lying. So
right,
it's like,
right.
not that I said no, because because I don't need, you have to express it like, okay, not really, because I'm able to start with you guys as soon as you give me that letter, however down the line I might need it because of this, but then we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Just being upfront.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay. And so the last question, and you've actually answered this as part of the process, but step-by-step guidance on how to actually get to that point when you have your permanent residency. So first step is be an international student and be an F1. And then after that, OPT. And then next step is H-1B. And hopefully permanent residency.
Yes.
And after that, permanent residency, wait
you
5 years. And then citizenship.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question.
Wait, I just wanted to, caveat and say we're not saying that every F1 is coming here to be a permanent resident.
Yeah.
It's just, options
Great
because pretty much, as an F1 student, you're coming here to study and get that degree and hopefully get that OPT experience because it will make you stand out, when you go back home.
Ultimately.
Exactly. And then if you're here and because I have had, certain people who they got the H-1B or they even got employers, but they still went back home because at the end of the day, you make your own decisions.
Yeah.
But if you want to long term, I mean the F1, the H-1B, and the green card, and permanent resident green card we call it, and then the citizen are like the logical routes for some cases of F1s, but not all cases.
Yeah. I think that's a great caveat because I mean, when you come here as a student, the intention is for you to school
Yeah.
and go back home.
And that's why the OPT is there, because now you get the education here, and also you have the experience. You have that on your resume. So, okay, I went to this school and I have all this education, and I was able to apply it and experience, and then hopefully you have good references to be an
Back that
awesome.
up. Yeah.
Exactly.
So on that note, what is we talked about that whole process of going through F1, OPT, H1B, green card. Are there other options for people to, if people wanted to stay, are there other options for them to pursue that process? I know earlier on in the live video you talked about having some students who are going through the asylum process.
Yes.
So are there other options available? Would you recommend, or what would you recommend?
But the thing is, the options are available to you if you have them. So, if you come in here as an F1, for example, there's a situation, a client of mine, she came in as an F1, and, she, from what her background is, like Muslim, she converted, and now there's some tension, and she's really just scared to go back home. Though that's kind of a situation where, I wouldn't say not a client, but that's kind of a situation where you say, okay, you know what, if you're done with your studies, now it's time to go back home, but you're afraid for your life, like there are other options here. So asylum might be an option for her, but even that is, asylum is like a high threshold. You have to show that, you're in danger for your life, the state is not doing anything for you, you're not safe, anywhere else in your country. So that's a way to get your permanent residency. And then also there's some, students who they were in school and then they got married, they fell in love and got married. And once you have a U.S. citizen spouse, family member, or relative that can petition for you, that's also a way to do it. There are some people older who are here and they have children who are U.S. citizens and they're 21 years, so your child can file for you. So family petition is a way to get to be a permanent resident, not even just for students, but just generally for people who are not in immigrant status or don't have status here. So the affirmative relief, and then there are also some other ways you can also get to permanent resident track, but that also is like an employment route. Sometimes the employer has to petition for you, and there are some instances where you can self-petition for yourself based on your skills and your international, how renowned you are internationally, things like that. So.
Yeah, that's something I was actually going to ask you to touch on. Like, could you touch a little bit more on if people were going to self-petition, how strong of a case would they have to make? Because I heard of people who've done it and it's worked for them. Yeah. But I know that there are specific requirements. Obviously, you need to be internationally renowned. You need to be like a specialist in like your field. So what would you recommend for people who wanted to go that route?
If you want to go that route, or you think it might apply for you, and this most likely would be a case where not just someone coming straight from an F1 experience. It would be most likely someone who has had a career, has done things, a PhD, have written books, or have gotten awards. Definitely put all of those together, and then put your thesis together and all of that. And it is a high threshold. You have to sell yourself. You have to show the government really that you're doing them a favor. Like they want you. You have to sell yourself. And then it's a case by case basis. It's not easy, and that's because a lot of people that get there like, oh, this person did this and this person. Yeah, and then also you also have to understand too. It also depends on. Person got an officer who was having a good day.
Right, sure.
It happens because at the end of the day, it's human being that process these things too. And you make your case. You have to argue your case well. So
that's not lottery based?
That's not the lottery based, no.
Okay.
There's certain caps to the number they give out, but it's the H1B.
Gotcha.
Lottery based, yes.
Okay. Well, those are the questions that we had. Is there anything else I wanted to?
I think I'm good, at least from my end.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time out to join us today. How can people reach out to you if they have any more questions?
If you have any questions, I think email probably will be the best. Okay. Email me at grace@ericlawgroup.com. And is there a way you can post my information?
Yeah,
we can post it.
We'll put it in the description.
Thank you, because my Instagram handle too is
We'll put it.
We'll put it.
Also, one more thing before you end, can you just tell people like what services you offer and how? If they would reach you, but what would they reach you for?
So I'm an attorney, and my practice is mainly immigration, and I do family and business immigration, and then I also do real estate closing. So, you know, if you come here and your father has so much money, you want to buy a house in Illinois, I got you. So,
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
thank you all
thank
for
you.
watching. You know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, leave us comments if there's anything you thought about this video, anything you wanted to know in particular. Feel free to send us an email. Definitely direct it to Grace, or you can always reach out to her directly. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. And happy holidays.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.